Hello and welcome to the show. Now it has been quite some time since I last did a Q&A video. I have a feeling it might have been sort of New Year last year, possibly. It might have even been longer ago since I last did one. So figured it was time to kind of do an update and get through some of your guys' questions to me. I am going to start this video before we get into the main question stuff. I'm going to start this video with a couple of things. First of all, I'm not covering questions regarding my Mazda. The RX-8, that is going to be a separate video. I have been planning, actually for quite a while, I've been planning various reasons why it hasn't happened, but there is going to be a separate video talking about the RX-8, what it's been like owning it, and so on. So, yeah, plenty of questions came in about that. That sort of stuff, though, yeah, it's going to be covered in a different video. Also, I will take this briefest of moments to say a big thank you to everyone that has continued to support my channel on Patreon. I try not to be one of these channels that is constantly trying to sell merchandise, constantly trying to push something. I've always aimed to just make videos about cars. It's what I love doing. I love racing. I love coming up with wacky challenges with cars, and I don't want to end up becoming a merchandise salesman or just try to constantly push the Patreon. And yeah, I've tried my best since it started. I think about a year and a half ago now. We started the Patreon, and for those that have continued to support it, I thank you very, very much. It is nice to have that little bit of a safety net, a little bit of a cushion with the ever uncertainty of YouTube. I have, yeah, again, I know technically I'm probably not doing things the best way to encourage more people to become patrons. I don't hold back content and so on specifically for those guys, but I do, yeah, massively appreciate any support that people can give me via that to, yeah, make sure that the channel can survive if YouTube starts doing really weird things and help me fund some of the crazier ideas that I do have, hopefully, in the near-ish future. There will be a link in the description to that if you do want to help support this channel with sort of monthly donations, then yeah, it will be massively, massively appreciated. It's where you see the names on my cars when it comes to Versus Community and sometimes other challenges as well. Those are the names of Patreon supporters and so on. So if you want to get a name on my car, that's where you've got to go. As I said, there'll be a link in the description. There's also in the end card, there'll be a link as well if you want to click on that. But yeah, that's kind of the basic housekeeping out of the way at the start of this. So, our first question is, what series would I recreate in real life from the series that I have run on this channel, assuming that I had the money, the resources, etc. to do that? Now, this had me thinking for a little while. Initially, of course, GTA 5 challenges sprung to mind. We've done all sorts of wacky things in that. I mean, trying a survive the hunt in real life would be really rather good fun. Maybe not with the shooty parts. I think maybe not with the bullets. That sounds quite dangerous and messy. Yeah, it would be, again, assuming that you could somehow set this up. The thing with sort of a survive the hunt, if you like, is it's, well, supposed to be done in a busy city and you're trying to blend in as a normal person. Yeah, I mean, the logistics-wise of that would be absurdly impossible and far, far too dangerous to ever take place. But if you could, that would be very, very interesting and very good fun to try. I mean, other things like King of the Hill, for example. Love to give it a go. However, wind turbines and launching cars many hundreds of feet into the air, health and safety probably would say no. Probably definitely would say no to that one. I also don't know what would happen if a wind turbine hit a car. I assume it would probably just cut the car in half. I don't think you would get the spectacular launch into the air. I think the car would just bend and get cut in half, or the person inside might get cut. It would get, again, another one that would probably get a little bit too messy for there to be a video. Yeah, I mean, some of the GTA 5 stuff would be great fun to do, but it's just so impossible. Maybe like the car sumo on top of, well, I say on top of rooftops, but some of the car sumos, certainly when we did the really early car sumos, back before it was actually a proper game mode, that sort of stuff would be vaguely plausible. That could be quite interesting. I wouldn't be at all surprised, though, if that kind of stuff does actually go on, if there are sort of special demo derbies around. I can't say I've ever seen any, but I've never exactly gone looking for it. Probably is a kind kind of competition that has happened. That would be good fun to to do, and would vaguely be within the realms of possibility. Things like transform races, they would work. Just like the transform bit would be a park car, run into plane, go and do that. Yeah, could be interesting, but again, I'm not sure health and safety would be too happy about sort of planes and cars running around very close together. Again, it could get quite messy, especially if we have Reese designing it and having us run on foot across a bridge with planes. It would be quite dangerous, I think, is the general consensus from all of that. If I could recreate any of my series in real life, even if we take the GTA 5 stuff as maybe-ish possible, I think I would still go for the Forza challenges, the Forza races that we do. At the end of the day, I love trying to do different stuff with vehicles, taking cars way outside their comfort zones, racing in practical vehicles in places they never should be. And I would love to be able to do that in real life. I'd love to be able to have the money to do some of the crazy stuff that we've done. And let's face it, Forza is vastly restrictive in terms of what you can do to cars. Only certain engines can go into certain cars, you only have certain locations to use and so on. And in reality, you give me the freedom to do challenges there, I come up with all sorts of interesting stuff. We can do all sorts of wacky sort of racing and weirdness. I would love to be able to do that, and maybe one day, maybe, if I could ever get the money to do some of the crazier ideas, I would love to. And of course, it would be vaguely within the realms of physically possible for stuff to actually take place. You know, let's have a race series featuring 100 horsepower cars. The cars couldn't produce more than 100 horsepower. That sort of thing, it's not impossible to do, just the logistics and so on would be insane. I would love to see that kind of thing. And of course, you know, you've got a much wider selection of cars that you could use from reality in Forza, etc. So yeah, that is what it would be. It would be the Forza challenges. I guess maybe even to an extent put in Forza and kind of like Gran Turismo, sort of general the racing challenges would probably be where it would go. The GTA 5 stuff would be insane and probably end up, yeah, not necessarily being suitable for a video. I think there might be a little bit too much death. I'm sure Chris would find a way of exploding himself immediately as well, so there we go. Yeah, Forza racing stuff, if I could create sort of the equivalents of in real life, and yeah, could probably go even a bit wackier with some of the sort of setups for the racing, that would be where it would go. The next question I have, would I ever consider kind of going pro racing or competing in kind of professional competitions on games, sort of the various esports stuff? And I had a few questions around this sort of topic. Would I compete in the next season of the Forza RC and those kind of events? And if I would, what games would I want to compete in, etc. Now, of course, the obvious answer to what games would be naturally racing stuff, whether it be Forza or whether it be iRacing, those sort of games, because, well, at the end of the day, that's what I'm best known for. That's what I am best at overall. I have the most experience with, and you know, I love motorsport. I've lived and breathed motorsport and cars for as long as I can remember. I've always wanted to, race vehicles. I always wanted to race go-karts as a kid, never could afford it, and so on. I've ended up racing remote-controlled cars as it is, and I hope one day, again, how long in the future, who knows, I will be able to race some form of real car. Yeah, I'm not going to be a Formula 1 driver. I'm very much aware I will never race a Formula 1 car. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I hope I will at some point be able to. It might only be Fiesta Cup or some other form of basic entry-level Clios and that sort of thing. I'm fine with that. I hope one day that I would be able to do that. So yeah, of course, it would be racing games that I would go towards, but in terms of kind of professionally competing at some of the highest levels for these kind of competitions, I probably won't be. I very highly doubt I will be going down that route. Truth be told, I know where my skill level is at with these games. I know roughly how fast I am when it comes to Forza. Yeah, I would like to think I am a pretty good driver on on that game. I can set some pretty fast lap times. I race pretty well. Tend to come towards the top of the versus community races and so on. And yeah, I'm a decent driver, and certainly compared to normal gamers, yeah, I will look like a very, very fast driver, but I also know how far away I am from the top level guys. I know how far I am off even vaguely possibly competing with those guys. Maybe with enough practice I could start getting towards a level where I would be competitive. However, that's going to take a huge number of hours. It would take a huge amount of dedication from me to be able to get to that level. And I don't have the time. And even if I did, I am not sure I would want to dedicate it in that manner. I spend many hours a week playing racing games for videos. Now, I'm very much enjoy that. I love racing games, but for the few hours a week when I'm not playing games for videos, I don't want to be dedicating those to more, you know, time trialing and so on. I just want to do something a bit different, whether it be just playing a different sort of game or whatever it might be that I'm doing. Yeah, I just want a little bit more variety. And yeah, I know how much time would be needed to get me, even assuming it was possible, even assuming I would have the skill to get to that level. I just, yeah, don't have the commitment for that. I mean, what the guys, you know, the top racing guys can do is utterly incredible. I've seen how fast those guys go around circuits, and yeah, I'm not near that level whatsoever. So yeah, I kind of spend a lot of my time spread it across multiple games, doing lots of different things and so on. And if I wanted to compete at the top levels, I'd have to do a lot more practice, and I just prefer variety. in many ways, I prefer doing the unusual stuff with the games. That's the fun that I have with Forza and so on, is doing a little bit weird things, doing things that aren't necessarily expected, coming up with my own rule sets for races and so on and so forth, not just the general racing. Truth is, if I was going to go down the sort of esports route, it would probably be more as a commentator. In all honesty, I would be very much interested in getting more into the proper commentary side of things, kind of along the lines we did the FailRace Turbo Tourers, and I actually really enjoyed commentating on that. It was a shame that it was certainly towards the end, was one of my least popular video series in terms of views. The people that watched it loved it, but just nobody cared enough to watch it, which was a lot of people did. It was a shame that that it went that way, because yeah, I really enjoyed just being a specific commentator rather than sort of voicing over on later. And in some ways, I think I enjoyed it kind of more as a commentator rather than actually competing in it as well. So yeah, kind of as a commentator, that would be something that I would be very interested in. No idea how you kind of get into that sort of stuff, but yeah, it would be a really cool thing. I mean, things like the FailRace Festival of Corners that I did recently, that kind of stuff, I'm actually really enjoying going the more, I say motorsport commentator route with that. But yeah, that's an interesting avenue that I've started exploring. So yeah, in terms of as a player, I just don't have the time or the commitment to really fully get up to the skill level required to compete with that. But as a commentator, maybe. As a commentator, possibly, if I could find a way into all of that. Our next question, we go on to real motorsport, actually. This one was, again, another interesting one. It took me a while to think about it. So, if I could pick to win between the Indy 500, the Monaco Grand Prix, and the Le Mans 24-hour race, so kind of the big three motorsport events, which one would I kind of want to be able to win? And I think my answer would be the Indy 500. When it comes to the Monaco Grand Prix, it is a fantastic event. It's a mad idea that's only really around because of tradition. Like nowadays, if somebody suggested the Monaco Grand Prix circuit, it would be laughed out the door. However, it is a tradition of racing around that circuit. It's an incredible circuit for modern Formula 1 cars that are so brilliantly fast nowadays, anyway, to go around, that, yeah, it's an incredible thing. However, as a race, it's pretty damn dull now. It is so difficult to overtake, especially with the modern cars being so wide, or as wide as they are. It is very, very tough to overtake. I think the last Monaco Grand Prix, there was one attempt at an overtake, and that ended up with someone upside down in the wall, and that was it. Certainly one attempt at an on-track overtake, anyway, with someone ending up in the wall because of that. And as a race, I mean, sure, the cars would be great. Be a great thing to drive the cars around there, but as a race it just seems a bit dull. It seems a bit dull to me because there's just so little going on most of the time. Sure, it's incredibly demanding to the driver to keep the car on the track for the, you know, all of the laps and so on, and take absolutely nothing away from the skill of the drivers to keep those things together on the road, but you're gonna pretty much finish where you started unless something goes wrong or you balls up a pit stop, basically. Certainly at the moment. Maybe Formula 1 cars will change over time, but yeah, that one, it would be a no. When it comes to the Le Mans, the 24-hour race, I am not a huge fan, personally, of endurance racing. I don't know, it's just something that's not particularly gripped me. Again, incredible feats, you know, of mechanics, engineering, so on to get the cars to run for as fast as they do, for as long as they do, and a huge amount of tactics involved with running the vehicles, or it can be in a race, sort of that length and incredible concentration to run the cars for as long as the stints that they do, and yeah, to keep going for the whole 24 hours. It is an incredible event, and it can be some very close finishes. It's not always won by huge margins. I mean, I was watching it this year with was it GT3? I actually remember what class it was, with the incredibly close finish between the Aston Martins and a Corvette that were battling right down to the very final line, while the cars having a tie go down, I think, at the end. It was, yeah, an incredible battle. After 24 hours of racing, it came down to the final couple of laps, and that sort of stuff is, yeah, pretty damn remarkable. Although, again, it's one of those that you may well be stuck running around for 3 hours completely and utterly on your own. And while overall it might be an exciting finish, there might be exciting moments, again, in terms of a race, assuming that I was good enough to compete at that sort of level, it wouldn't beat the Indy. It wouldn't beat the Indy 500, because in the oval racing, sure, yeah, you might only be turning left. You might only have 4 corners to try and deal with, but you have got an awful lot of vehicles around you to be fighting with. Now, not everyone likes oval racing, and that's fair enough. However, I am someone who does. I thoroughly enjoy racing ovals on whatever game I've played it on, and it's a different sort of racing. However, you have constantly got, or you have often got, a lot of cars around you to battle for position. You are changing positions sometimes 2 or 3 times a lap. You are certainly not going to be on your own for 3 hours. You are certainly not going to be stuck behind a car for 25 laps, not being able to overtake. This is just not how it works. And as an event to sort of take part in, to me, that's the more appealing one. That's the more appealing one of the lot. So, yeah, that would be the one that I would want to compete in. That's the one that I would want to be winning. So, yeah, I'm sure not everyone is going to agree with me on that one. However, that is what we're going to be going for. Right, what have we got up next? So, kind of on to more gaming questions here. Again, there have been a few different, slightly different worded versions of some of these, but I'll go for kind of a generic one. So, my favourite game of 2017 is not a racing game. And that is not to do with the fact that, well, it's not to do with the lack of racing games. There have been plenty of racing games. There have been plenty of good racing games, actually, out this year. Dirt 4, fantastic fun. F1 2017, actually, a very, very good game, even with the derpy safety car. Still a very, very good game overall. I've enjoyed my time on Gran Turismo Sport. Got angry at it a few times, but it's still a fun game. I actually like Forza 7. It's frustrating as hell to work with sometimes, and it should be better. Could be much easily better as well. However, I do still like the game. It's still a nice game to drive in, and gives me plenty of ideas. It gives me plenty of ideas of what I would like to do. Half of them don't work because the game's a pain in the arse. But yeah, I like Forza 7. There is a good game in there. I actually quite enjoy Need for Speed Payback as well for doing dumb stuff with, cars. However, my favourite game of the year would be, actually there's two, and I couldn't possibly pick between them because they're my favourites for completely different reasons, would be Total War Warhammer 2 and Life is Strange Before the Storm. They would be my two favourite games of the year. I know I won't have talked about them much or covered them much in terms of videos, but I love both of the games are fantastic. Total War, it has its issues. You know, Warhammer 2 does have its issues. It can at times be a little bit buggy and some stuff can be a bit laggy, and it was broken on my computer for quite a while. However, it's still the game that I have spent kind of the longest thinking about and most time almost wanting to play. I wanted to play more of that game. I'm a big fan of strategy games. I love playing strategy games. I'm not good at them, but I say I'm not good at them. I'm vaguely okay. I'm getting better. You need many thousands of hours to be good at them, and well, yeah, again, I don't have the time. But I love strategy games, and I love the world, if you like, of the Total War Warhammer games. I don't know much about Warhammer itself. However, I love having started playing both the first one and the second one. I love the world, this kind of swords and sorcery battles that go on. There's a very interesting mix of units and sort of fighting. The elves have got the shooty arrows from the long range. The dwarves have got all sorts of crazy, I guess, sort of siege weaponry, organ guns, cannons, helicopters, and yeah, just overall put it together. The lizard men with their massive dinosaurs that just wreak havoc. You don't really have much control of them. They just kind of run in and cause a mess. It's a really, really interesting strategy game, and a lot of things can go on. A lot of things can go very badly wrong, and yeah, go quite crazy in it. I've spent many, many hours playing that one. I highly recommend it. It's yeah, at times can be a little bit laggy and a bit glitchy with some of the graphicsy stuff that seems to be going on with it, but on the whole, it's a fantastic, incredible game. And Life is Strange would perhaps be one of my favourite all-time games overall. I only ever actually played the first one. I had the first one I bought it like 2 years ago at a sale. Completely forgot about it. Had it on my computer. I don't think I've actually even downloaded it onto Steam for a couple of years almost, which now having played all of it makes me sad because it is one of the best games I've ever played. I don't really want to say too much about it because if you haven't played it, I don't want to possibly ruin a single thing because it is absolutely, even with the ending being a bit crap, I would completely rewrite the ending personally, but even so, it is still an absolutely incredible game. So I don't want to say too much about all of it, but I do very much highly recommend it. And yeah, Before the Storm that came out this year it's a kind of a prequel that shouldn't work, but does, is the best way to put it. And yeah, to try and not say too much about it, it's fantastic. I highly recommend. I would, if you are watching this and thinking about playing it, play the original first before playing Before the Storm. While chronologically, order-wise, Before the Storm is first, don't play it that way round. It'll make sense when you play it. Just go and play that game if you haven't. It probably doesn't cost very much these days and is highly, highly worth it. It'll make you very sad, but it is very good. So there you go. They're my favourite games. They are my favourite games of this year. The next question about if I could kind of remaster, port a game to kind of modern consoles, or if there's a PC-only game, port it to consoles and so on, what would it be? Well, one of the games, Burnout Paradise, is actually being remastered, apparently. Heard rumours that, there is a Burnout Paradise remaster in the works for, I think, as early as March this year, which is very, very exciting indeed. Very, very exciting. Burnout Paradise is one of my all-time favourite games when it comes to racing stuff, so I'm really looking forward to that. Fantastic news that one there is coming. I mean, if I was choosing a Burnout game to be remastered, I would perhaps go Burnout 3, because Paradise still holds up very well today. I'm not sure it really needs that much of a remaster. It works with backwards compatibility on Xbox One at least. So perhaps Burnout 3 would have been the one that I would have gone for the remaster, specifically for the crash mode as well, but yeah. I think I would have probably gone for Burnout 3, but still very happy to have a remastered Burnout game on the way. I mean, in terms of other games, I would love to see a modern TOCA race driver, a proper modern TOCA race driver game. Maybe a remaster, not so much as a new one, because of course, if you were to remaster Race Driver, it's very, very much out-of-date touring cars and so on. However, yeah, those games are brilliant. In fact, I'll actually get on to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And again, something like PGR4, I would perhaps rather a new PGR game, rather than a remaster of PGR4, a PGR5 would be very much wanted. Sadly, that's not likely to happen, but yeah, something like that. It's a shame the Project Gotham Racing series has gone, because they had produced... I mean, over the course of 4 games, there wasn't a duff one, I don't think, and that's an impressive feat to have gone through. Yeah, it would be good to see an updated one of those. Now, the next question is kind of will be related to the Toca Race Driver subject. If I could design, again, there's been various different wordings of this, but basically, if I could design a racing game, how would my perfect racing game go? Now, I think, briefly talked about this a while ago, but it was probably in a Q&A about 3 years down the line, so probably a lot of people haven't heard this, so I will go over this one again. Now, a lot of things that racing games do now, they share a lot of things in common in many ways, in terms of career modes and so on. And my perfect racing game would work like none of them. It would work a lot more like Toca Race Driver, but it would go a step further. So you would start off with, the normal conundrum of buying a first car. But the important thing is, in my perfect racing game, there would be a fail criteria. You see, a lot of times racing games, in fact, no racing game I know of really has a way you can fail it. You can fail to progress. You can fail a championship and you've got to restart the championship again to try and get the certain position, the certain points, or you can fail a race and you've got to restart that race again, and then after a couple of attempts maybe you'll move on. But unlike games, unlike shooter games, unlike games like, for example, I'm going to use Warhammer as an example, because in shooter games you'll die, you'll respawn, you'll go try again, kind of the equivalent of fail a race and restart. Games like Total War, for example, you can fail the game and be out. You lose your army, get invaded, your territories are gone, that's you out. And that sense of danger is something that you don't get in racing games, and you don't necessarily get in sometimes, in some cases, very many games, but racing games, really struggle with a fail criteria. So how I would structure my game is you start off and you have X amount of money to go and buy a car. Now, perhaps you can choose to try and buy a cheap road car, like a budget road car, convert it, spend some of your money in converting it into a race car, or maybe you take that money and go and buy an already converted race car, and you enter into the very amateur race series. So, basic competitions. I mentioned earlier about real life racing stuff, so maybe it's a basic Fiesta Cup or a MR2 sort of thing, or whatever. I don't know too much about specific categories, sort of lower end, very low end categories, entry level categories, and you turn up and you race in those. And, your car will... The important thing in all this would be that your car would have wear. Like, not just talking about at the end of the race, spend some of your money to repair damage. I mean, I'm talking about, like, clutch can fail, gearboxes can bugger up, you have to spend money to get new tyres on the car, and if you chuck too much money at the car, you can go bankrupt. If you have a big crash, you can be ruined. You've spent all your money trying to get the car to a certain condition, you crash the car in a race, and that's it, you're done. You're out of money. It's career over, if you like. That idea is something I would love to see made into a game. Like, proper entry-level... You start at real entry-level stuff. And then as you go further in, maybe you get sponsors who pay you a certain amount per race to have stickers on their car. Maybe you get up to the stage where you go from racing in the very amateur series into sort of the semi-professional series, and then up to racing in touring cars, GT cars, where the team will take care, perhaps, of expenses and whatnot. But, yeah, you've got to work through the really grassroots stuff. And critical to all of this is, the mechanics of the car, keeping the cars going. Because again, this is something that games really don't want to do. Racing games really don't want to do mechanical, like internal damage to cars occurring, I say randomly, but things like F1 2017 is one of the very few games that even vaguely tries to have damage occur over time. not just caused by you bumping a wall, but damage occur over time, and very, very few modern games have random failures. So a gearbox losing a gear, for example, or even like wheels coming off of cars, suspensions collapsing, and that sort of stuff. It's rare, sure, in modern cars it is rarer you have these totally random mechanical failures, but it happens. You know, engines developing a misfire, and that sort of thing. And I would love to see a game properly embrace that, and properly embrace the, you know, real proper entry level, the grassroots motorsport, and work your way up and have to, you know, try and deal with all the finances of keeping one of these basic cars running, and the constant fear that if you wreck the car, that can be a complete write-off and you'll have to start again. There could be a really interesting game in all of that, and I would love to see it one day made. I think it's unlikely. It might be a little bit too daunting to some people, and yeah, I suspect it would... certainly the big studios and so wouldn't necessarily want to take on something as risky as that. I mean, Project Cars 2 kind of tries with the kind of career mode, working your way up from the beginning, but it's not really full-on kind of grassroots stuff, and again, doesn't have any of the kind of mechanic aspects of the game. I think it would be an interesting change of having the game, almost having the game more focused around the mechanics of keeping the car running. And I'm not just talking about like My Summer Car style of keeping a car running, but yeah, it would be a kind of a different, almost a different focus. Of course, the racing would be very important, the actual driving would be very important, but it's a slightly skewed focus that I can't think of any game that's ever really tried it, and certainly not to that level of detail and sort of that level of progression. Maybe one day, maybe one day we would see something along those lines. I live in hope. I live in hope that we will see that. As it is, yeah, that's not so likely to happen. One question I am going to talk about, again, this asked in various different guises, about my next ideas for real-life cars. Now, I don't plan on selling the RX-8. I do plan, there is plenty of other cars that I want. I hope that I can keep the RX-8. I love my Mazda, it's a brilliant, brilliant vehicle, so fingers crossed, unless circumstances change and so on, I intend on keeping the RX-8, hopefully, for quite a long time. My hopes for a next car, and I have talked about this before, it is still vaguely the same. I want to get a decently fast estate car. While I love the RX-8, there are times when it is simply not big enough. It's relatively, for a sports car, you know, relatively practical. It seats plenty of people. They've got a decent sized boot, but you know, you go into IKEA and you want to pick up furniture, it's not going to work in the RX-8, or for various other stuff. I do want a bit bigger car, and also with where I live being quite a lot out in the country, when it gets to winter and snowy and icy, and I would quite like an all-wheel drive car. So my current hope, and it might be a while until I can afford it, but my current hope, and I'm currently working towards, is getting a Mitsubishi Legnum or a Subaru Legacy, the estate versions of those cars. The Legacy, perhaps one of the older turbo ones, or one of the more modern 3-litre Rs. Those are the cars that I'm hoping for. I mean, there are plenty of sort of decently fast estates out there. You know, Mondeo ST220 is a possibility. That's basically, if I get impatient and bored of saving money, I'll probably end up getting the Mondeo because it's the cheapest of the lot. But things like some of the Volvos, the V70 Rs and that kind of thing. 850 Rs are starting to get really expensive, so probably not that one. Sort of the V70 Rs more possible. Might even be tempted by the big Saabs, the Saab, the 95 Aero Hot or whatever, because those things are actually pretty bloody fast. They're not all-wheel drive, but still bloody fast. So yeah, my next car hope is the Legnum. Ideally, that is the one that I most want out of that lot. So that's what I'm going for next. Also did have a couple of questions about kind of track cars. I would like at some point to have a specific track car. It probably wouldn't be the RX-8. The RX-8 I would probably keep as a sort of summer weekend car, if you like. For a track car, I would be very tempted by an MX-5 again, because it was brilliant. An MR2 is perhaps the more likely route that I would be going down for a track car, just for something a little bit different. they're not too tremendously expensive. I mean, we're talking relative here. You can pick MR2s and MX5s up for not too much money, but again, it's all money. It is a plan that I would like to be able to enact in the future, to have a car that I could do track events with, and that would probably take place before I could ever get something to actually, properly compete in a racing series. Because, as much as I would love to do all of this stuff, I also know that it's not just buying the car. There's a lot of other expenses that can go with it, and I want to make sure that I'm in a financial situation that I can do that sort of thing. So, yeah, a track car is something that I do look to in the future. Some small two-seat car that I can have a lot of fun with on a circuit is definitely a possibility. Should it come to fruition, of course, I will film stuff, do videos on that kind of thing. Just might be a while off as of yet, especially with YouTube being, well, YouTube. So, there we go. That's my plan for cars. Hopefully, I did see actually a couple of questions of people asking, like, what were my goals for 2018. My main goal at the moment is to get the Legnum. That's kind of what I am working towards, as I would really, really like one of them. They're brilliant cars. They really, really are. So, yeah, that's my plans going forward regarding real cars. Final couple of questions that we are going to do. The first one is about, again, real life videos and streaming, etc. Various different wordings of this question. I do plan on doing more real-life videos. It's something I say every time I do one of these. I do want to do more, and then various reasons, various stuff gets in the way, and it just doesn't kind of happen. I think this year I have done more than I ever have, but that's because I don't really do them that often. I'll be honest with you in that I struggle more when it comes to doing real-life videos. It's not something that necessarily comes naturally to me. I don't think it shows when I do them, but it takes a lot of effort from me sort of psychologically to do them. It's, yeah, something that I'm trying to do better with. I think as I said, we've got more done this year. The cats will probably appear. I've got a few ideas actually of what I want to get the cats hopefully doing soon. I've got various remote control vehicles. I've got some remote control tanks that should be quite entertaining when the cats have got used to them, and that sort of stuff. I just got a general catness really going around. We can probably come up with more videos for that. As far as kind of vlogs go with the car, as I said, I have plans for videos with kind of an update with the RX-8, and we may well be seeing more of that kind of thing in the future. I kind of say it every year. I hope to do some more, but various other things may well end up getting in the way, and other distractions and so on. I do hopefully be at Goodwood this year. I don't know whether I'll be invited down again, but hopefully we can have some more Goodwood stuff. Other motorsport events, again, a few questions I've had asked around, what motorsport events am I going to this year? I don't know at this moment in time. I will hopefully be attending various touring car rounds. Didn't really get to go to many last year. Again, just other stuff came up at weekends that meant I couldn't go to them. Hopefully be going to more touring car rounds this year, but I'm not likely to make videos on. So if I go to stuff as a spectator, I'm not going to probably make videos on it, because I've gone there to enjoy a event. I don't want to go there to work necessarily. I've gone there just because I want to watch touring cars. Now, if I get invited somewhere, that's a different story. If I get invited somewhere to, like I go to Goodwood, I get invited to that to make videos and so on, that's a very, very different story. If I got invited to a touring car event, got to do maybe more behind-the-scenes stuff than you would as a regular punter and so on, then that's a very different story. But if I'm going there as a general spectator, A, you're going to get crappy footage because I'm just going to be in a bloody grandstand, and B, I've gone to it because I want to enjoy it myself. So, yeah, not likely to see too many videos from that sort of thing. I might go to kind of some of the bigger car shows around, possibly this year. Again, it's going to kind of depend largely on my schedules when it comes to various weekends and what my plans are, girlfriend's plans, etc., to whether I can go to certain ones of those. Hopefully there will be more. There may be videos, certainly for like car shows and stuff, maybe more videos on that. That's going to be very much to see how it goes. And the other thing, again, plenty of questions about, am I going to be doing more streaming? And again, I say this every year, hopefully. With YouTube forever being, I'm trying to think of the right word here, scary unstable at times, you're never really quite sure what's going to happen with channels. Certainly YouTube loves to try and throw as many spanners at me as it can. Streaming, certainly sort of Twitch streaming, is a good way of diversifying income. If I look at it from a basic business standpoint, the more places I can have income coming from, the better it is for me, the bigger safety net I have. If something goes wrong with one of them, I don't take as bad or a hit, or yeah, don't get into dangerous territory, basically. So it makes logical business sense to spread out that income. It makes logical business sense to do more on Twitch as a safety backup. And I like streaming. You know, if we take off the logical business head for a minute and go just to doing stuff that I enjoy, I like streaming. We've had a lot of fun with some of the Need for Speed, the stupid stuff we've done on Need for Speed Payback. It's been good fun. People that have, you know, come to the streams seem to have enjoyed themselves and so on. So yeah, it's very possible. I very much hope to be doing more streaming, but of course, it's just time. And while I did have a stream schedule for a little while, I tried it last year. I think it was before Goodwood, actually. I got a vague schedule of doing some streaming when it came to the mad panic before Goodwood, trying to get caught up with videos that got kind of forgotten. And yeah, I kind of got to a point where I just didn't quite have enough time to do streaming, and got busy with various other things and just never got back into the schedule, if you like. I am going to try again this year. Hopefully, might not quite be this week, might be next week. There'll be a kind of an announcement video going up for that, where I can do some more streams and yeah, kind of get more into that. As yeah, I do have good fun, and it does also mean I can cover slightly different games, perhaps with streams, cover them in a slightly different way, possibly. I'll stick a link in the description to my Twitch channel for those of you that want to follow that. I'll also, you know, always post up videos, like brief announcement videos, say when I'm going live, and I'll put it on Twitter, all that sort of thing. But yeah, if you want to follow my Twitch and so on, so that you will know when I have gone live with streams. They're most likely to be through the day, which I know is technically not the best time, but it's not the best time for the audience, but it's one of the only times that I will be able to have a couple of hours consistently. So yeah, it's something I'm going to try. I will try and stick with a little bit more this year, see how it goes. If you guys are interested in all of that. Also got quite a lot of questions about, are you going to see Reese in more videos, perhaps outside of GTA and so on. The answer to that is yes, hopefully. We are just about finishing up the Doomsday Heist stuff now. I've got various ideas for what we're going to be doing on Forza. In terms of GTA 5, the other GTA 5 challenges we do, anything in which Reese doesn't need a capture card for, we will probably see him in the future. As it is, he doesn't quite have a capture card yet, so having him commentating during the races would be quite difficult, or it wouldn't make much sense, because half the time he can't see where I am in the race, and I can't see where he is. So, yeah, it kind of wouldn't really help too much with some of that, but yeah, don't worry, there will be more Reese in a bigger variety of stuff in the coming weeks, hopefully. And the final question that we're going to do today is, again, I saw various wordings for this one. What are my favourite videos to make? Now, this is kind of a tough question in some ways. I only ever really do videos on games that I enjoy. I'm not going to go do a video, well, I say I'm not. I'll do reviews, perhaps, on games like I did with the 2015 Need for Speed. Terrible game. I'll kind of do reviews on games that perhaps I don't like. However, in general, I won't be doing videos on a game that I don't like, because I want to enjoy what I do. I don't want to be sitting around and getting angry at a game just for the sake of a video. Now, it might get me more views doing that, but that's just not me. That's just not what I want to be doing. I want to be playing games that I like. I want to be playing games that inspire me to come up with ideas. And there are lots of very good games out there, and I would rather spend my time playing those than playing other ones. So in general, I enjoy just about everything that we do. There are some that are more of a pain in the arse to set up. GTA 5, sort of Survival the Hunt stuff. I love doing them, they're great fun, but they're a nightmare to get working, and there are many failed attempts that you will never see for various reasons. Some of like the GTA 5 races are good fun. Some of the crazy stuff that we've done in that game has been very enjoyable to do. I mean, I like the Forza 7, or the general racing challenges that we do, sort of seeing what the results are from some of them. Like the recent showdown, the British track cars we did, the Ultima, the P1 GTR, the Radical, and so on. There's 2 PI difference between all 3 of those cars, and seeing how they compare against one another is a really interesting outcome. Like, when you go into that, I didn't know. I expected the Ultima to be fast, but I didn't realise the way that it was going to be fast compared to the other vehicles around. I didn't expect the Vulcan to be so terrible, and that might be more... It's less kind of comedic, but in some ways it can be more interesting. Like, I would like to think as a viewer in some ways. And, yeah, definitely to me as a creator, it's interesting to see what some of these results are, some of the investigations and so on that go with Forza. My favourite video to make, certainly of late, and perhaps my favourite video I have made full stop, would be the FailRace Festival of Corners. That was a big, long time project. That one coming together. It's I reckon, in fact, this is another question as well. How long do the videos take to make? It massively varies. Things like the GTA 5 videos, actually, for me to make them into a video, perhaps not very long, will take a while building. Some of the tracks, the crazier tracks, will take a considerable amount of time. Some of the more simpler ones, like the last 2 that went up, were pretty straightforward circuits, pretty basic circuits. Made for some brilliant racing, pretty basic circuits. I mean, some videos that I do can probably be voice recorded, edited, rendered, uploaded in 2 or 3 hours. Some of the videos, not. the Festival of Corners, while I'm really pleased with the way that ended up, I reckon it was probably about 50 hours of work in that one, between find the location. A lot of the stuff that goes into videos, a lot of the time that goes into the videos will be prep work that you won't know about. We'll be setting up or working out balance of, and all of that sort of thing. That can be hugely time consuming that you will never know about. I mean, in that particular video, I had to find what game I was going to do it on. Actually, initially wanted to do on Project Cars 2. That was the plan. It was going to be on Project Cars 2. Couldn't find a location that I liked for that. Ended up switching to Assetto Corsa. Went through various different mods to try and find a stage, find a track that I liked. I wanted it to be around the minute-long hill climb. I didn't want it to be a vastly long lap or hill climb stage. So it took a while for me to find a stage or a route that had plenty of exciting stuff in the first minute of it. I then had to pick the cars, went through various different cars, searching through websites, finding different mods for that one, put it together, did the practice, learnt the track, practice runs with all the cars, did qualifying runs, did their actual final shootout runs, and then you got to do all the editing. And that was a massive faff to edit because you've got all of the kind of the UI, the overlays, if you like. Everything was all custom made for that one. The little timer that you see, I couldn't get a timer working in the way that I wanted it to. So I actually went on the internet. I found a stopwatch. I made the computer recording, the screen capture software that I use on my PC. I made like a tiny little box. Basically, that timer is me recording off a web page to get that timer in the way that I wanted it to work and the way that I wanted it to be. And it's just finding all of these little workarounds that you put together. Yeah, that was a huge amount of time. Now, admittedly, that wasn't. I actually did the driving for that. Little secret here: the driving part of that video was done about 3 months ago. If not even, maybe even a bit longer than that. I'll be honest, it was done ages ago, and it's like I'd kind of put off editing for a while, and then I thought, oh, why don't I use it for the New Year's special? Because I didn't really have anything else particularly planned, and then I had a date to aim for, and then kind of worked around with the editing. Yeah, that has been my favourite video. I'm massively happy how that one turned out. I'm glad people. It's got a lot of likes, certainly a lot of likes to percentage in terms of views. I'm glad people have enjoyed it. Shape hasn't really got as many views as I would have liked. So the annoying thing with that is I love that video. I think it's, as I said, it's one of the best I've done. It's got pretty much, because it came out the same day as a Car Mechanic Simulator video, and the Car Mechanic Simulator ones are often fairly straightforward. I mean, it's just live commentary over shenanigans, and it's kind of got the same amount of views as the car mechanics video one that took me 2 or 3 hours to do, and you've got that massive Assetto Corsa thing. That kind of stuff, it annoys me to an extent, but then it also doesn't detract from the fact that I'm very proud of that video. You know, if anyone ever asks for a example of my channel, that's the one that I'm going to show them. I would think. It's not funny, and I think this is one of the things that I do sometimes, I think I might struggle with in terms of a channel. Most people expect a gaming channel just to be comedy, and we do funny stuff. I would like to think, at least, that that we do funny videos. However, when it comes to kind of motorsport stuff, there is a way to make videos interesting. And I think that the Festival of Corners is definitely one of those that, no, it's not something you're going to be laughing at. I mean, I hope my driving isn't that terrible, but it's one of those that you are going to be interested in. You know, you don't watch Formula 1 for the comedy. Well, I mean, sometimes some of the stuff they do is dumb, but yeah, you don't watch Motorsport necessarily for the comedy. You watch it to be an exciting event, and I hope I managed to capture, I think I managed to capture that when it came to the Festival of Corners, but trying to get that across to people who are looking for gaming videos, they expect them to just be haha crash into a wall sort of stuff. It seems, at least to me. So yeah, it's in terms of sort of time consumption for videos, it hugely varies depending on what sort of project you want to be working on. And yeah, that for favorite videos, kind of in general, it would probably be some of the Forza challenges, because we have the kind of entertaining silliness, and you have some like the really interesting results from showdowns. The GTA 5 stuff is very, very good fun as well when it all behaves itself. It can be a bugger to get that to behave, but yeah, specific video would be the Festival of Corners. And while I haven't decided on the details, shall we say, the specifics, it will be a series that will continue. Now, it might be one a month. I did toy with the idea of having it on the 1st of every month. Could be interesting. We'll see how it goes. Might stick with one game, might change it up, might go for different games with different courses and so on. Kind of, yeah, gonna see what takes my fancy, really, with all of that. That, though, is going to be it for this video. Bloody hell, I've talked for a long time. I hope you have enjoyed this Q&A. I have no idea what background footage I'm going to have in all of this. I know this is more about I guess the commentary is more like you listen to in the background rather than actually watch whatever footage I have going on. Who knows? Maybe I'll have some Warhammer in there. We'll see. Yeah, I thank you very much, everybody, for those of you who are still stuck around, watch this long, and yeah, we'll see what interesting craziness the future will hold for FailRace. Probably be more rolls, probably be more explosions, and hopefully some more exciting racing. Maybe even doing some real life stuff. That's pushing it, but maybe. That's gonna be it from me. Until next time, though, goodbye.